Alright battlers, I use one of the most vanilla teams to hit rank 10 in Season 2, but it's great for gaining ELO. Let's get into it. We are knocking on the door of that 3000 ELO score, almost to rank 10, Medicham lead into Shadow Tyranitar, one of the strangest leads I've ever seen in the Great League of the Go Battle League. Here comes Toxicroak switch in, and we answer with Altaria. This team is very vanilla ice cream. There's not a whole lot of fancy stuff going on here, but I actually went back and forth with myself as to whether or not I should make this video. I know sometimes I like to publish some spicier content like the Shadow Fortress video from yesterday, and this team isn't that exciting, but I wanted to make it because it's a very accessible team that a lot of trainers have built these 3 Pokemon and can use them, and if you are in trouble in the Go Battle League and you want to gain some ELO, this is actually a pretty solid squad in which to do so. As you can tell here, Altaria not taking a lot of damage, but those bites are adding up. If it was Smackdown, it definitely would have squashed Altaria, but we get off that one Sky Attack, bringing down Tyranitar. In comes my opponent's last Pokemon, which is Altaria. In terms of coverage, Medicham is a wonderful, very flexible fighting type Pokemon, can cover the steels, and the Ice Punch gives it a lot of versatility against the flyers, as you see there, forcing that first shield against the Altaria. My opponent hasn't seen my 3rd Pokemon, which is our trusty Azumarill, so they probably think that my best answer here is going to be Medicham, or that weekend Altaria. Maybe I've got a grass type in the back, but as you already know as the viewer, we are in very, very good shape here. I am running Medicham with Counter, Ice Punch, and Psychic, Azumarill with Bubble, Play Rough, and Hydro Pump, and then I have my Altaria with Dragon Breath, Sky Attack, and Dazzling Gleam. As you see there, my opponent sees that Azumarill and leaves the game. Going into the second game of this set, Medicham into Azumarill. Now, this set is a 5-0, but we lose the lead at least twice, and I want to teach you how to play the lead here with the Medicham. The best case scenario is that your opposing Azumarill goes for Ice Beam. If they try to fire off that Ice Beam, it allows you to get to 2 Psychics, and as you can tell, counters and 1 Psychic already push this bulky Azumarill down into the yellow. It's already at half health. Here comes a Hydro Pump, and this is not a great scenario, but watch this. We're going to try to squeeze in one more attack here at the very end, and it will be another Psychic. If your opponent does the Hydro Pump, sometimes you can get to this Psychic. It really depends on if they miss any bubbles here. We force that first shield, and the reason I didn't swap out is because my only Azumarill counter on this team is Azumarill. That's why I'm running that Play Rough on Azumarill, because if I can line this up correctly, I can win the mirror, and getting that health advantage is really helpful. With this team as well, it's important to kind of take note of what your opponent has shown you and what they might have in the back. If you can predict your opponent's line to a degree, I know it's very, very hard in GBL because it all feels so random, but if you can predict a little bit, you can actually go really far. My opponent did come in with Registeel, so what we've seen so far is an Azumarill and a Registeel. It's very, very rare that your opponent will carry more than 2 anti-flyers on a team. A very interesting instance maybe would be Azumarill, Registeel, and Galarian Stunfisk, but that is very unlikely. So I predict that as soon as this Registeel is out of the way, my Altaria should be able to clean up whatever is in the back. That is why I do not shield here with my Azumarill. Hoping to get some energy together on Altaria. I still have both shields, and out comes my opponent's Altaria. So this is not a perfect situation. We have to be very careful with our energy management here and try to hold on to our Altaria's health as long as possible. Gonna go ahead and fire off this first Sky Attack here to try to force my opponent's shield. That attack does get shielded. I'm going to go for a second Sky Attack here in rapid succession, trying to deny my opponent a charge move and hang on to my shields, and we are able to do that. This Altaria is very low, possibly within lock-on range. Can we get to the Sky Attack and lock down this win? My opponent goes for a charge move here. Possible mistake. You definitely want that lock-on damage because the charge move interrupts your fast moves. We shield, we get to the Sky Attack in the last moment. 1 HP in a dream. Altaria is going to claim this match for us. Jumping right into game 3, one of my favorite names, Pogo and F Yourself, one of the funniest names I've seen in a while. Here we go with a Medicham into Azumarill lead. You know exactly how we're going to play this because we talked about it before. I didn't mention, though, the worst case scenario. If your opposing Azumarill does have Play Rough, you're not going to be able to get to that second Psychic in this lead matchup, so you're going to have to go for the Ice Punch and hope possibly that your opponent wasn't counting correctly and shields it. So we do land that first Psychic, Azumarill at half health, which is exactly what we want to see. Going to go ahead and not shield here, and this will be Play Rough. We're going to try to work up to the Psychic here, but as you can tell, the bubbles are adding up too quickly. Got to go for that Ice Punch just to get some damage off. Let's see if our opponent shields. And they do, so we are up a shield. That Azumarill is at a significant health disadvantage, probably within one Play Rough and a few bubbles of KO range. So this is actually a pretty good situation for us. We just have to hope that our Altaria and weakened Azumarill can clean up whatever's in the back. I also like this team because it has two solid answers to Galarian Stunfisk, something that you see quite a bit of these days. That Azumarill and the Medicham answer that really, really well. My opponent is going to let that Azumarill faint and think things over. Out comes their Galarian Stunfisk. So this is actually really good for us. We are packing that Hydro Pump here. Earthquake will take probably about 40 to 45%, but I don't think this is a Quake, so we don't shield, and it is just a Rock Slide. That tells me that my opponent is going to try to be very aggro with their movements here and try to spam these Rock Slides and put shield pressure on me. Sometimes you don't want to go for that super effective move just because you can put more pressure on your opponent with quicker charge moves, especially if they're up in shields. You just want them to kind of get nervous and uncomfortable, and this is a good way to do it. My opponent does not shield the Play Rough there, which is really, really bad for our plans, and I'm going to have to spend a shield here on Azumarill because that Stunfisk is not within Dragon Breath range. Gonna go ahead and fire off another Play Rough here, hoping my opponent doesn't shield this. Let's see what they decide to do. My opponent does shield, which is not good for us. Azumarill is putting in work, but this Galarian Stunfisk is going to survive. Gonna have to eat this Rock Slide because we are out of shields, and I hope Altaria can Dragon Breath down. We are barely unable to do it. Galarian Stunfisk gets off one more Rock Slide here, which is bad news for us. Gonna have to eat that, and my opponent's last Pokemon is gonna be Altaria, but we've got some energy together. We're gonna go straight for this Dazzling Gleam. Fairy type attack, gonna be super effective against Dragon type Altaria. Will it KO? Not quite, but we are able to Dragon Breath down, KOing Altaria. In comes that Stunfisk, and it is fried. Battlers, we are 3-0. If you've enjoyed this video, if you found any utility out of playing this particular team and you're considering trying it yourself, leave me a like, comment down below what you think, and then subscribe for more. Medicham into Toxicroak, Medicham the superior fighter, forcing the swap. In comes Galarian Stunfisk. This does not look like a winning matchup for my opponent, and I determined that they did this on mistake. They have to have something else in the back that's going to do better against Medicham, otherwise there's no real reason to switch. So sometimes you get outcomped, sometimes your opponent just picks all the right Pokemon and there's nothing you can do to beat it, but sometimes even if the situation is unfavorable, just like tennis or chess or any kind of other matchup, you can force your opponent to make a mistake. That's exactly what happened here, bringing in that Stunfisk and letting it faint. My opponent does realize they made an error. In comes Azumarill, and I'm feeling pretty good here. We do have Altaria to answer for that Toxicroak, and then we have Azumarill to wrap up this Azumarill and maybe do a little bit of damage to that Toxicroak as well. Gonna go ahead and land that Psychic there, and if you notice, we haven't gotten the defense debuff with Psychic, but it's still a very useful move. If this is Ice Beam, we are going to punish our opponent even more, and it's a Play Rough. So they are going to take out our Medicham, which is not a big deal. We're in very, very good position here. Sometimes we can panic swap into the wrong Pokemon and it makes all the difference. At this level, rank 9, I think I was at like 2986 or 2996, something like that. At this high ELO, players can still make mistakes, so definitely stay in the fight and see what you can do with it. Gonna go for the Play Rough here against this Azumarill, and it's not enough to KO, but we are still very, very comfortable. Even though my opponent has 2 shields, we just have the superior matchups here with our Pokemon. They're just hard counters, and there's not really much he can do here. Gonna make the immediate swap into Altaria, and my opponent has to see the writing on the wall here. Even with my single shield here, this is not a threatening situation. Sludge Bomb does take a nice chunk out of Toxicroak. There's actually a running joke in our community that Toxicroak is an anti-flyer, because if you can land a couple of those Sludge Bombs, you can bring down something mighty like an Altaria. It's such a great Pokemon, and I do love using it, but it didn't make it onto this particular team. That opponent's going to come in with a Azumarill, and that is GG's. Going into the final game, 2-0 Butters is the final gatekeeper on the way to rank 10. Here he comes with Medicham into Azumarill. So we're going to lose the lead 3 out of 5 times in this video, but this team still finds a way. Going to go ahead and fire off this Psychic here against 2-0 Butters. If you aren't familiar with him, he is a wonderful shoutcaster and content creator. Check him out on Twitch. I will leave a link down in the description below, and then follow him on Twitter as well. If 2-0 Butters sounds familiar, it's probably because I just did a Shadow Fortress video highlighting his play with that spicy Shadow Pokemon yesterday. Check out the card there at the top of the screen to watch that. Going to go ahead for a second Psychic here, which is really good, forcing Butters to shield. So even though this is an elite player that we are familiar with, we are still in a good position here. Going to go ahead and bring in a Azumarill. He swaps into Licky Licky. Licky Licky, an awesome normal type Pokemon. I'm definitely going to bring in my Altaria here because I need my Azumarill to handle his Azumarill in the back. Worst case scenario, this my opponent does have a grass type in the back, because then Azumarill with no Ice Beam is going to be big trouble. But as you know, it's really hard to cover everything, but I do like this team's coverage of grass types with the Medicham's Ice Punch and the almighty Altaria. Gonna go ahead and shield here on the second attack, and I believe I can Dragon Breath down Licky Licky. Even though it's such a bulky Pokemon, it's gonna be very, very close. We are not able to get there. 2-0 Butters hanging on with his Licky Licky. Trying to keep my options open. I do shield the Body Slam, and we are finally able to Dragon Breath down. So I do have that Sky Attack loaded and ready to go. Gonna go ahead and fire that off immediately because I don't want Azumarill to take advantage of the situation and get off a charge move. That Azumarill is gonna fire off a charge move, but we swapped just in time to catch this Ice Beam. Very, very timely swap there. His last Pokemon is Shadow Hitmonchan, one of the hardest hitting Pokemon in the Go Battle League. It's so crazy fast. I think it only needs 5 counters to get to the Elemental Punch there, and with your Ice Punch and Thunder Punch combo, it is such a deadly Pokemon with such versatility. Gonna go ahead and shield that Play Rough there. Worst case scenario that I can foresee here is that this Hitmonchan is going to farm down this Azumarill and then fire off the Ice Punch against Altaria. But we do force him to spend some energy here, which is exactly what we want to do. He is going to fire off the Thunder Punch to bring down Azumarill, and now it's all up to Altaria. Going to come in here, but we have some energy loaded, so we work up to that Sky Attack. Going to go ahead and fire that off. This is going to be more than enough to bring down the Hitmonchan. Can we take down the Azumarill, though, and lock in the 5-0? And we do. GG's Butters and all of my opponents. This was my last set on the way to rank 10, and we claimed a 5-0 in a very, very tough environment. Lots of high rank 10 players and some players that were almost to rank 10 who made it last season. So very GG's to everyone. I hope you enjoyed this, battlers. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.